Today might have been a sad day in Apple leaker history, if these leaks at this leaker were true, of course. We were talking about an Apple leaker that reportedly knew somebody at Apple, his sister, and that this person showed them iOS 17 and gave them a bunch of internal information about Apple. We were talking about no other than former Apple leaker, Analyst 941. His roots debuted back in 2022. At the time, he was known as Anonymous AS. I do not have an exact date for his first leak, but I remember seeing it. But he leaked something big, something that no one else expected Apple to do unless you saw his leak. In iOS 16 Beta 5, a true innovation was added to iOS, the battery percentage. That's right. He leaked the battery percentage in iOS 16 Beta 5 prior to its release. The iPhone 14 Pro was rumored to remove the notch once and for all and replace it with an eye-shaped hole. A few weeks later, on August 31st, 2022, Anonymous AS on MacRumors said the eye-shaped hole would be a pill shape with software and privacy indicator lights will appear there. This turned out to be true. If I use my microphone or camera on my iPhone 14 Pro, the pill shape will have privacy indicators just like this leak said. Not much else was said about this besides the redesigned camera app, but a concept showed what we now know as his dynamic island. Later that day, Mark Gurman confirmed that the leak was true, and that it would be a pill shape cut out with software, but the actual hardware itself would just be an eye shape. Anonymous AS would disappear after getting both of these leaks correct. Very strange move from somebody who got these leaks correct, or he literally had nothing else to share. However, he would eventually make a grand return. On April 12, 2023, we would be greeted with a MacRumors post. The new features coming in iOS 17. This MacRumors post got everyone in the Apple community's attention. He made some bold claims about iOS 17, including Control Center having big changes, Dynamic Island doing way more stuff, and he even said the iPhone 8 and 10 would be getting iOS 17. On April 15th, he would change his Twitter username to Analyst941. This is where he would get his new name that we know him by today. He would post all of his leaks on Twitter rather than MacRumors now. April 15th was the first leak, saying that people would need iOS 16.5 to test iOS 17. Thankfully, this was wrong. April 16th was when the first interesting stuff came from Analyst941. He said some stuff about the action button on the iPhone 15 Pro that was previously rumored. He said that the volume up button would be used for less stuff. Now the power plus action button would be used for shutting down the iPhone instead of power plus volume up. On the same day, he said the action button would be a dynamic button in the camera app, with light pressing on it would focus the camera, hard pressing on it would capture a photo, and hard long pressing would record a video. Wait, can we stop here? This action button combination sounds similar to a current leak. What if he inspired the iPhone 16's action button? It would be very cool if he did in fact do this. Moving to April 18th, Analyst941 said his first thing about watchOS 10, a redesigned home menu on the Apple Watch. He did say he was unsure if it would be a third option to replace the spiderweb grid. It didn't look anything like this, and I appreciate that it didn't. He also said that folders would be added to the Apple Watch, and a day after, we would get a quote-unquote bad render of it according to him. The folders would be more reminiscent to the iOS 6 ones. And on April 20th, Analyst941 said that iPadOS 17 development was halted on iPads with the A9 and the A10 chip. However, we know this is not true, as the iPad 6 runs iPadOS 17, and it has the A10 Fusion chip. Another bold claim made by Analyst941 was an extra hour of battery life. Kind of interesting that Apple would do this, considering the track record with software, but it was very interesting to hear about. We didn't get another leak from Analyst941 until April 27th, and he rumored new FaceTime features. Phone calls to another iPhone user would use FaceTime audio instead of cellular calling, and Android users would use cellular calling, kind of similar to what iMessage does as of iOS 17. Another feature that 941 leaked that day was the Apple Watch was synced to multiple devices, including iPads and Macs. This would be a huge feature that unfortunately did not come out, and I kind of wish it did, just so I can manage my Apple Watch from my Mac. April 28th was when we got some brand new renders for the first time. Some that were very real and looked really good that it spread like an actual leak. Specifically, we got the first look of the iOS 17 wallet app. It surprisingly looked almost legit, but the only thing that was looking off were the SF symbols not being filled in properly in the tab bar and in the search field. He also said that swipe down a search will also come in iOS 17 for all apps, which would be a pretty convenient feature, at least for me, and there would be new features in the wallet app, but he did not say anything yet. He also showed up a health app redesign, which kind of looks mid, to be honest, and having all those graphs there would probably be pretty intimidating and a bad quality of life experience. On April 29th, we would get another render of an updated wallpaper manager to build upon what we got in iOS 16. It looks super good, and I would have loved the ability to share and rearrange lock screens easily. One of my most hyped features of iOS 17 for me, unfortunately this never happened, and I was left very sad with iOS 17. Because I actually believed these leaks up until dub. We would keep getting leaks after leaks, including small home screen widget size on the Apple Watch, the journal app being a summary and not a journal, and a sketchy live activity map leak, but nothing was more important than this one leak. The most important leak that Analyst 941 revealed came out on May 2nd. It was that Final Cut Pro would come to iPadOS in 2024, and Logic Pro would come in 2025. Something crazy happened on May 9, 2023 that no one expected. I don't think Analyst 941 even expected this to come out. I didn't even believe it was real, and I thought it was hallucinating because of Analyst 941's leaks. And I was extremely excited for this announcement from Apple that I didn't even think it was real. On May 9th, Apple announced Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro for iPadOS, something no one saw coming at all. The first thing he said on Twitter was 2024 is already here. I remember seeing this on his Twitter account, but I do not have this archived. Some people questioned this in Analyst 941's DMs, and eventually he would just say to them that he just got somebody fired from Apple. I was so confused, and I need a response from Analyst 941 as soon as possible. We eventually got our response on May 10th. On that day, I pulled out my MacBook in math class, and I saw something that sparked my attention right away. In math class, I would usually go on to Mac Rumors because I was so bored of just learning triangles and how to prove they are triangles. Analyst 941 gave a public response on quote-unquote what happened. He said that his sister was giving him all the information. His sister worked at Apple, my dream job. Legal action would allegedly be taken between both 941 and his sister. His cover-up was that the Final Cut Pro leak that he revealed was actually a fake leak by Apple to find out who was giving all this information to the public, which narrowed down who was giving all this information to the public. Very weird way of finding a source if I say so myself. If you're releasing a product in a few days, why would you use that as bait to get somebody fired? I'm sure you want the software engineers knowing the date, and I'm pretty sure Analyst 941's sister was allegedly a software engineer at Apple. On June 5th, 2023, we would get WWDC, and almost none of the leaks were true except for the ones that were previously leaked by other reliable sources. I unfortunately expected that some of Analyst 941's leaks would appear at WWDC, because I usually expected that people tell the truth, especially if somebody gets two previously big leaks correct, but that is just me. What would Analyst 941 have done if Final Cut and Logic never came to iPadOS? My guess is he would continue to spread misinformation about iOS 17 until June 5th, and then he would do something after that, or just simply say goodbye before WWDC. We will unfortunately never know what would have happened. My guess is that he would have abandoned his accounts because that seemed to be what he did with the Dynamic Island leak, but he came back once he found out that his Dynamic Island leak was true. Who knows what Analyst 941 is doing today? He is probably fine and no one knows he was an Analyst 941. He did a pretty good job at staying anonymous for who he was. My guess is that he was just a high school student who was bored and just wanted to pretend he was an Apple leaker just because he made two accurate guesses about iOS 16 and the iPhone 14 Pro. It would be very funny if he was leaking iOS 18 by accident and thinking it was iOS 17, but judging how he mentioned the iPhone 8 and 10, I do not think this is the case. What can we learn from Analyst 941? We learn that you can't believe every Apple leak you see. Anyone can log into the internet and claim they know something about the future of Apple. Yes, it is fun to see what is right and wrong, but in the end, you will get caught for spreading so much misinformation. Unfortunately, I do not think we will ever see someone like Analyst 941 ever again, because I think people know better to believe anything they just see on the internet and not question anything. We saw something similar with an iPhone 16 Pro fidget spinner camera. Despite these leaks being fake, it is oddly nostalgic logging into Twitter every day, looking at Analyst 941's latest leaks, if there were any. But thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, join the Discord server, and download my apps, Willy Widgets, and Study Direct. And I'll see you in my next video.